Hello friends. Well, I am Sunil Ranjan and I am an English teacher. Now, in this session, I have come up with an introduction by Kamladas. Well, first I will tell you about Kamladas. Kamladas was an Indian author who wrote openly and frankly about female sexual desire and the experience of being an Indian woman. Her Malayalam pen name was Madhavakkutti and her Muslim name is Kamla Suraya. She was born in 1934 in Thrissur, Malabar coast in Kerala. She died in 2009 in Pune. She was part of a generation of Indian writers whose work centered on personal rather than colonial experiences. Her short stories, poetry, memoirs, and essays brought her respect and often created controversies. She wrote both in English and under the pen name Madhavi Kutti in the Malayalam language of southern India. Her poem An Introduction is an autobiographical poem. This poem reflects her capacity for self-assertion and the revolt against the conventional restraints that society continues to impose upon women. The poet's feminism shows throughout her poem. Now coming to the poem, an introduction. So first I will read out the lines and then I will offer an explanation of the lines. Now the poem begins. I don't know politics, but I know the names of those in power and can repeat them like days of week or names of months, beginning with Nehru. Now the explanation. As the poem begins, the poet admits her ignorance of Indian politics. She says she knows very well the names of those who are in political power in India and can repeat their names like days of week and months. To begin with, she takes the name of Nehru, the first Prime Minister of India. Now, the next few lines. I am Indian, very brown, born in Malabar. I speak 3 languages, write in 2, dream in 1. Well, the explanation is she is brown by complexion and she was born in Malabar. She moves ahead by saying that she is an Indian. She says she can speak 3 languages, write in 2 and imagine in 1. Now, the coming lines. Don't write in English, they said. English is not your mother tongue. Why not leave me alone? Critics, friends, visiting cousins, every one of you. Why not tell me speak in any language I like? The language I speak becomes mine. Its distortions, its queernesses, all mine, mine alone. Now the explanation. She is often advised by the people around her not to write in English, as English is not her mother tongue. She reacts by asking all her critics, friends and visiting cousins to leave her alone and write in whatever language she chooses to like. Whichever language she speaks belongs to her only, with its distortions and unusual usage. She asks all not to question her style and writing, as they all belong to her only. Now, the coming lines. It is half English, half Indian, funny perhaps, but it is honest. It is as human as I am human. Don't you see? It voices my joys, my longings, my hopes, and it is useful to me as cawing, as to crows or roaring to the lions. It is human speech, the speech of the mind that is here and not there, a mind that sees and hears and is aware. Not the deaf, blind speech of trees in storm, or of monsoon clouds, or of rain, or the incoherent mutterings of the blazing funeral pyre. Well, the explanation is, she admits playfully that her language is a mix of Indian as well as English language, and often it sounds or looks funny, but she writes honestly. As she is human and real, her language too is real, with multiple shades of emotions and feelings. She says that her language and writing express her joy, her longings, her hopes, and they come to her as naturally as the cawing of crows or roaring of lions. She opens up with a firm conviction that her writing is natural human response and comes straight from her mind. Her mind sees and hears all that she comes across and gives shape to her thoughts in her writing. Her writing is not like the deaf or blind trees in the storm, monsoon clouds, rain, or the sound coming from the blazing of the dead bodies. Now, the coming lines. I was child and later they told me I grew. I became tall, my limbs swelled and one or two places sprouted hair. Now the explanation. She tells about her growth over time as reminded by others. She tells how she became tall and her limbs grew as time passed and how she had hair appearing on her body. Now the coming lines. When I asked for love, not knowing what else to ask, for he drew a youth of 16 into the bedroom and closed the door. He did not beat me, but my sad woman body felt so beaten. Now the explanation. In a very straight, frank and honest manner, the poet says that she longed for the sweet sensation of love only, as she was not aware of any other human behavior. She was married off when she was quite a young girl of 16. Like any marital union, she was hurled into the bedroom to be enjoyed as an object of desire and sex. She was not ill-treated, but she felt very sad and tortured by such a conventional social institution of marriage that meant mingling of only flesh and bones of man and woman. Now the coming lines. The weight of my breast and womb crushed me. I shrank pitifully. Then I wore a shirt and my brother's trousers, cut my hair short and ignored my womanliness. Dress in saris, be girl, be wife, they said. Be embroidered, be cook, be a quarreler with servants. Fit in. Now the explanation. In these lines, the poet rebels against the social conventions that force her to remain a woman, a housewife. She feels shattered and torn. She chose to go against all that was expected from her and dressed like a man. She wore her brother's trousers, cut her hair short, and refused to accept the conventions that defined the dress and role of woman. All around her dictated to be in sari, look like a girl, behave like an obedient wife, do embroidery, cook delicious dishes, and quarrel with servants as other women did, and just fit into the conventional social slot meant for women. Now the coming lines. Oh, belong, cry the categorizers, don't sit on walls or peep in through our lace-draped windows. Be Amy or be Kamala or better still be Madhavi Kutti. It is time to choose a name, a role. Don't play pretending games. Don't play at schizophrenia or be a nympho. Don't cry embarrassingly loud when jilted in love. Now the explanation. Kamladas, the rebel poet, expresses her anger and agony by telling about the contractors and guardians of society who dictated what to do and what not to do. They often dictated not to sit on the walls or peep through the windows. She had her own options to choose from, to be known as Amy, Kamala or Madhavi Kutti. Whichever name she liked, she finally decided to choose her name and play her role and not try to play the social show-off games anymore. Deep within her, she heard her voice calling not to be unmindful of the reality and just continue to be a conventional woman that had no identity of her own and who went by the wishes of others. Why should she cry her heart out when she had embarrassingly suffered in any romantic relationship? She asked herself. Now, the coming lines. I met a man, loved him. Call him not by any name. he is every man who wants a woman, just as I am every woman who seeks love. In him the hungry haste of rivers, in me the ocean's tireless waiting. Now, in these lines, the poet unfolds her privacy, her falling in love with a man. She says that he was like any man of flesh and bone, blended with many manly hunger for sex, and she was like any woman who longed for love. The man she had fallen in love with turned out to be one whose only desire was to have sex with her. But she felt that she was not meant for gratification only. Instead, she was like an ocean longing to have a lot more than just going for exchange of bodily passion and desire. Now, the coming lines. Who are you? I ask each and every one. The answer is, it is I. Anywhere and everywhere, I see the one who calls himself I. In this world, he is tightly packed like the sword in its sheath. It is I who drink lonely, drinks at 12, midnight in hotels of strange towns. It is I who laugh, it is I who make love and then feel shame. It is I who lie dying with a rattle in my throat. Now the explanation. In these lines, the poet speaks about the patriarchal male-dominant society in which man is led by his ego and hypocrisy. The first person singular I tends to run superior everywhere. The poet finds men packed tightly like a sword in its sheath, with a closed mind, not allowing woman to come up and realize her role and identity in human society. Man does what he likes, whether it is taking drinks alone at midnight or stepping into hotels of any town. It is he, lost in his ego of I, who thinks of his authority to laugh whenever he liked. It is he only who chooses to make love and satisfy his hunger for sex. And it is finally he, feeling ashamed of what he had been doing. The man led by his ego I, who dies one day, breathing with great difficulty, with his throat choking. Now, the coming lines. I am sinner, I am saint, I am the beloved and the betrayed. I have no joys that are not yours, no aches which are not yours. I too call myself. Now the explanation of these final lines. Highly charged with her sentiments and sensitiveness, the poet Kamladas runs between being either a sinner by going against the conventional male wish that society expects from her, or being a saint who accepts everything that society goes by. She says that she finds herself as the one who is someone's sweetheart, or the one who has been cheated. She has to be happy with the happiness of man and cannot have any joy that belongs to her. She has to be happy or have moments of pain as man tends to have. She is not supposed to have her own happiness. By finally calling herself I, she finally rebels and bursts to be her own self and retain her own identity. She is firmly determined not to be a dumb and submissive follower and do what man dictated or demanded from her and live the way he liked. So friends, here I come to the end of this poem and the explanation. Well, if you have subscribed to my channel, thank you. If you haven't, and if you choose to subscribe, I promise that I'll be coming up with fine videos for you from time to time. And yes, I'll keep my promise. Thank you.